What's up, everybody? It's your Star Wars nerd. Today we will be revealing my first ever out of, trust me, many Black Series figure. Arguably the best non-Sith Jedi killer of all time. The horror of the Separatists. Give me General Grievous, the collector himself. So, one of the main things that we're all looking for, if we're being honest here, which, I mean, you should be looking for this whenever you buy Black Series, how it looks. Does it look good? Does General Grievous look good? Yes. Absolutely. Just a stunning overall figure. Hasbro really did not mess around with the detail on this one. They made sure that it was movie accurate, which this is based off the Revenge of the Sith one. There is a 2003 Clone Wars one, and I believe, if some leaks are correct, or some pipeline reveals, or whatever they were, that they're making a 2008 Clone Wars one. So you got plenty of options on your Grievous adaptations for your figures. You're not just limited to the Revenge of the Sith one. But I did get the Revenge of the Sith one, and so this is what it is based off of. So, if you can see, he even got all these smudges on him, and all these little dirt details that I did not add. This figure is unchanged from the package. He's just that well made. Now, if we go into the arms, Grievous, he's a spider. He got 4 arms. Actually, spiders have 8, but he has 4. So, these arms are great because, like I've said, they have 2 ball joints for each arm. This lower arm, this is upper, 2 separate ball joints. So I can move this arm with this one staying absolutely unfazed, which is great for posing because you don't have to worry about moving this one and correcting that one, but then moves it up a bit. You don't have to do all that stuff. It's just fine. Onto these lightsabers, however, his 4 that he has stolen from the bodies of dead Jedi. As you can see, this one does not have laser sword. It's not because I lost it, but before this recording, it fell off. That is because it is a very flimsy thing. Now, this is not just General Grievous' problem. This is Black Series in general. Their figures, lightsabers, and their blades, the hilt and the blade, do not like staying together at all. They fall apart. Some are better than others. Some are worse than others. General Grievous, I'd actually say, is on the worst side, but his is still pretty good, so you don't gotta worry about that much. But it falls off, you drop him a bit, it snaps off, and then you gotta get down with a flashlight and try to find it in your room. It's just a whole messy ordeal that I don't like dealing with, but nothing you can do about it. I'm not just gonna go without a blade. However, as I'll show you, we can just take this blade, you take this little thin part, you put it onto the circle in the middle of the hilt, push down, sometimes you have to spin it around a bit. There you go, it's staying in just fine. You can tap on it, it's not that weak, it'll stay in. The grip is another thing that these Black Series have a problem with. This lightsaber's grip, just because of its shape, it's good in this hand. This one's, it's alright. This one, it's terrible. They don't hold on very well. Now, not all sabers are created equally. Not all hands are created equally. It's just, they don't hold on very well. That's not exclusive to General Grievous, so don't buy this figure just because that. That's just a Black Series problem in general that I've encountered. Another thing about the hands is they themselves do not turn. Them and the forearm are one piece. There is no joint here, just because the plastic is so thin that it'd probably snap if there was a joint. On to the legs, they move out just a bit, obvious enough that you won't need any more for posings. Nobody's going to be having Grievous do the splits. He wouldn't make a very appealing cheerleader. His legs do, however, move back and forth just fine. They can actually go pretty far back. Look at that, that's him on a full sprint. Imagine that coming at you, it'd be terrifying. I've seen problems about like his feet snapping off. Me personally, that's just not something I've experienced. Just don't use and abuse your Black Series and you won't break them, quite obviously. His head, it's articulated. It moves left and right, up and down, all the directions you'll ever need to go. All the directions a head can go, period. On to the second main thing besides looks whenever you're buying a Black Series. How much does it cost? Going off of an average I've seen on Amazon, eBay, and the Black Series website, Grievous cost around 40 USD. It is a bit expensive, but that's mainly because it's an older release, and it just, Black Series in general, it's not a cheap hobby. Me, I got mine for, I want to say, right around 25. That was around a year ago, so this was definitely a lot cheaper then. And this one does come with a cape. I sadly do not have the cape next to me. I still do have it. It's a red and gray cape. If you go to Black Series website, you'll see what he looks like with it. I don't put it on him because it makes it harder for these lightsabers, because they can get caught on the cape, and then, like I mentioned before, the blades will fall out, and you gotta track them down again, which I just don't do that hassle. He also comes with a little blaster. I have it in my storage box of all my extra guns. Because, let's be honest, everybody knows Grievous for a lightsaber. Nobody looks at Grievous and says that his main weapon is a blaster. I mentioned earlier that there is a 2003 version and a 2008 version set for release. I do not own the 2003 version. I've just never bought it. I don't usually buy different versions of characters. I usually just buy the character for the character. So I cannot give any reviews on that one. It is around the same price, I believe, as this one, because both Grievouses are in high demand, because this is a more realistic Grievous. And then the 2003 Grievous, he was a menace. If you haven't watched that 2D animated series, highly recommend it. I do have one figure from that, an ARC Trooper, but I'll do that in another review. This one's having trouble stand up. Yeah, some people say that this Grievous has trouble standing on his own, supporting his own weight, and he falls over a lot. That's true with all Black Series figures that you're trying to fit on bipedal. There you can see I'm not holding him whatsoever, and he's standing just fine. For some certain poses, you do gotta spend you have to spend some time to move him around and balance him, making sure he doesn't fall over. But it's really not that much of a hassle. That's just all Black Series figures. This one, I will say one thing about him, you kind of have to be extra careful with, because if we look, like, right here, it's really thin, which is probably where people complain about snapping off. Here, all these, it's not a solid die, if you want to call it that. There's a lot of holes in it, so that is another thin part. These arms are really thin. I mean, look how small that joint is. So it is liable to snap, which, you know, of course you don't want your figures breaking. So that's really just all of my thoughts and opinions about the General Grievous Black Series Revenge of the Sith figure. It's one of my favorites in my collection, by far my favorite Separatist. It's pretty slim pickings for that, because Black Series won't give us a more Separatist, which is a whole nother topic of discussion. So, that overall is my feelings about this General Grievous. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. I don't want to sound like one of those YouTubers, but I do plan on doing many, many more reviews. I'd like to say lots of Black Series. So, I will monologue till this reaches 10 minutes. The cape, you know, it honestly fits very well, but you can't really have the arms extend like this. That's one thing I wish these arms did. They somehow, I don't know how they do this, but like snapped into place so it'd become one arm. Because if you watch the Clone Wars, the best Star Wars show, 2008 one to 2020, then you'll see that he very often uses these two arms put in together as one to just have two arms instead of four. So, now that we're at 10 minutes, this, my honest review of the Revenge of the Sith Black Series General Grievous. I will leave with my thoughts. So, yeah, that's all.